Yo, what is up and welcome to yet another video. In this video, I'll be giving my personal aspect tier list ranging from worst to best. I'll be going more in depth with some synergies and my motivation for some placements. When making these rankings, I won't be judging the appearance, but rather how the aspect trait performs and how well it benefits your character, especially in the endgame. The release of the Echo upgrade multifaceted makes the stats you get from aspects irrelevant, since you get to allocate them for free no matter what aspect you're using. This change makes it so that the only thing that separates the aspects from one another is the trait, and therefore I felt the need to make an updated tier list for you guys. Real quick though, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed and joined the Discord down below. I share all my builds from my videos in the Discord, I do giveaways, and I talk with you guys, so just join up and I'll see you there. Why don't we begin with Celtor? The Celtor's trait is called Seaborn, and as the name suggests, what it does is it buffs your ships. These buffs are: owned ships have plus 10% HP, ships helmed by Celtors turn 20% faster, and a 20% discount at the shipwright. Not only are these buffs very mediocre, but there are rarely any situations where you'd benefit from these whatsoever. The 2C world events and Dread Serpent are the only times where this would be kind of handy. Sure, paying less for a ship is nice, but compared to the aspects ranked above, it's pretty bad. And with that said, I'll be putting Celtor in D. Next up, Chrysid. Chrysid's trait is the Mothwing Dust, and it reads as follows. Being attacked causes you to release Mothwing Dust, granting you vision of your attacker. This lasts for about 10 seconds. In my opinion, this is just insanely useless, and 99% of the time you're in a battle, you'll have 0 health from this passive. Sure, if someone hits you and then runs away, you'll see them, but it's still only 10 seconds, so it's not enough to reliably chase someone. Therefore, I'll be putting this slightly above Celtor, but still in D. That brings us right into Gremor. With Gremor, you get the trait Neve's Guidance, and what it does for you is it gives you a useless compass at the top of your screen that always points north. It gives you reduced hunger loss, and if blind, gain a slight range of clear vision around you. The only good buff here is reduced hunger loss. This passive is okay since it stacks with the echo modifiers that reduce hunger, which leads to you losing way less hunger, and if you're fighting someone in the water for example, this will be a nice benefit. The compass on top is only a nuisance, and the only reason it even exists is because of lore reasons. So some synergies with Gremor is combining your reduced hunger loss with the talents Conditioned Swimmer and Triathlete can give you a big advantage when fighting in water. I'll be putting Gremor at the top of D. Next up is Adret. Adret's whole gimmick is faster and easier progression. Adret's aspect trait is called Modet. It gives you 3 free points whenever you power up that you can allocate when resting at a campfire. Your starting reputation with all factions is also higher with Adret. In no way is this bad, but it's still not ideal for Deepwoken since this doesn't give you any long-term benefits in the endgame, unlike aspects placed higher on the tier list. Adret is best used when doing a progression that's supposed to go quick and easy. Therefore, this ends up being a good race for people doing W rank, echo farming, or just lazy people. I'll be placing Adret in C. And that brings us to Etrean. Etrean gives you the trait Molt. What Molt does is the duration of status effects, good or bad, is reduced by 15%. However, this only applies to chilled, suffocation, and potions. It also makes you take less damage in acid rain. This aspect has the potential to be way better, but the fact that this only works on a very limited amount of status effects sells it. I still think it's an alright aspect since it does provide protection against some builds, but it's very situational, and most battles, your aspect traits won't benefit you at all. With this being said, I'll be putting Etrean at the top of C. The first of the 2.2% aspects on this list is Ganymede. Ganymede gains the trait Deep Folk. Deep Folk makes you gain 20% sanity from all sources, and it also makes deep shrines that cost 5 knowledge or more now cost 1 less knowledge to make a deal with. Ganymede is great when progressing or battling in the depths. Its 20% sanity gain from all sources can be a huge help that people usually take for granted. Combining Ganymede with Deep Bound can be a good idea because one of the Deep Bound's multiple buffs is that it regens your sanity when killing any monster in the depths. So with Ganymede, it obviously makes that buff even more useful. You can combine Deep Bound, Ganymede, and Conquer Your Fears to regain an insane amount of sanity when killing a monster, but I wouldn't say it's worth it. With that being said, Ganymede rests in B. Next up is the bird race, Tiran. Tiran gets the trait Feathered Glider, which makes you take 10% less fall damage. You also spawn with a feathered glider with infinite uses. The descent rate of the glider is also slightly lower, making you travel slightly further than with a regular glider. The reduced fall damage is really handy. Fall damage can actually be very detrimental to your HP while in battles when you're chasing or running, but the highlight for Tiran is definitely the glider. Just look at it. Ooh! Just kidding, but it does come in handy a lot. Combining Tiran with a talent that every build should be running, which is Kickoff, is a good idea, since this heavily nerfs fall damage, because both of them just nerf fall damage together, which makes them perfect together. I'll be putting Tiran at B. And that brings us to Con. Con is a unique case because it can either be useless or very valuable. This trait is called versatile, and what it does is all equipment requirements are lowered by 3 stat points. Con is a real good if you use it right. A popular use of Con is going 47 medium weapon and using the 50 medium weapon requirement of Warden Ceremonial Sword. This saves you 3 points and could let you get yet another crucial talent for your build, if done correctly. Although this can actually get better. If you combine Con's passive with a Pyrekeeper or any weapon that has like multiple requirements, you can save more than 3 points off because it's not 3 points in total, rather just 3 points off a singular stat. So you can save up to like 6 stat points, maybe 9 with Pyrekeeper. With that being said, I'll be putting Con at the very top of B. The Capra is by far the aspect with the most complex aspect trait. I'll only be covering one of the 3 traits that you can choose from depending on your aspect variant with Capra. The one I'll be covering is the Mark of Coup. And this is because this one variant is leagues above the other ones, and there's rarely any reason to not pick this one. The Mark of Coup is like a tool that can be activated while resting at a campfire. And when you click on an ally, it applies an R around them that passively heals 15% of their HP over a time span of 30 seconds. This is huge in ganks, especially because you don't have to be sitting at a campfire for a while, so you can just sit down, pop it, and then get out and fight again. Do keep in mind that anti-heals like All the Dead Gods, Ring of Pestilence, and Frostbite can be a big counter to this, since it does take 30 seconds for it to actually like fully heal you 15%. Sure, it doesn't work well on most builds, but on support builds, it's perfect. It's the perfect aspect. With that being said, Capra is the first A tier aspect on this list. We're finally in the top 3. The Canor aspect gets you the trait Loyalty. This makes it so allies take less damage from you and deal less damage to you. This is arguably the best aspect for big ganks. It's huge on AoE mage builds, or if you just have the tendency to hit your teammates. The damage reduction is approximately 35% less damage to allies. Just make sure you turn off no holds barred when using this. Combining Canor's trait with the charisma talent give and take makes it so you basically tickle your allies with the small amount of damage you deal. This is insane for ganks and can save your allies a lot of HP. Therefore, I'll be putting Canor at an A. Next up, Felinor. This aspect's passive is called Nightchild, and it does the following: 25% agility when climbing, 50% agility when climbing a wood surface, 20% more stealth, and stealth gain from any source, so accessories, talents, you know. These passives are huge for anything except Chime. These passives allow you to both escape and chase people way easier, especially when combining it with the synergies that work very well. The 20% stealth basically cancels out the obvious flaw, which also is the most free flaw to pick either way. So if you combine the obvious flaw with simple, you basically have no flaws. Combining Jet Striker and Kickoff with Felinor is the bread and butter combo. This allows you to climb extremely far on any build using Jet Striker. And if you're using Gale Breath, you can make this even better by getting Wind Step to get an extra step after Jet Striker climbing and to go so damn far. With that being said, Felinor easily belongs in A, no questions asked. Here we are, with only one aspect left to place. It's no secret that Vesperian is the best aspect. His trait is just undeniably consistent and no build can go wrong with it. Vesperian's trait is called Chitin, and it gives you 5% damage reduction that acts as its own exoskeleton. The trait stacks with exoskeleton, but gets slightly nerfed, so in total, instead of your exoskeleton reducing 10% of damage, it reduces 13% with Vesperian. Sure, it's not crazy, but none of these aspects are crazy, to be fair, and 3% adds up, especially if you have multiple other like damage resistances. If you have insane HP, 3% is way more than you think. So my tip to you guys, if you're ever making a build for Chime, just go Vesperian. You just get an insane advantage. And with that being said, Vesperian obviously takes the crown and it rests at the top of A. That's the aspect tier list finished in all its glory. Let me know if you change anything or if I forgot to mention anything in the video. As always, I appreciate you guys so much for supporting me and my work. It really means a lot, and I hope this video was helpful in any way. And yeah, see ya.